Rate of 25 abortions per 1,000 women, with more than a quarter coming from adolescents who had unintended pregnancies. This has been attributed to the inability of adolescents to access contraceptives or necessary information about unsafe sex when needed. Reproductive health experts who spoke at a meeting on net mapping of adolescents and youth family planning situation in Lagos say to address this maternal health challenge, there is need for increased access to information on safe sex and family planning. Available statistics show that currently about 1/4 of Nigerian adolescents are sexually active, with the age of sexual debut ranging from 10 to 15 years. This has become a daunting problem, with the prevalence of unintended pregnancy among adolescents put at 23% in the West, 36% in the South, and 26% in the North Central. And this worries reproductive health experts.
3 out of every 10 pregnancies can be associated to adolescent pregnancies, and usually most of them are unintended. Having access to contraception and being able to make a decision whether or not to use contraception is one of the most effective ways in which you can use to attain your highest potential as a human being, especially at the adolescent age. I say this because it gives you the opportunity to be able to develop yourself to the point where you know you've achieved a certain level of potential growth or personal growth, to be able to go into the society, go into the economy, and then contribute meaningfully to not just your immediate economy or your immediate society, but to the national space, as it were.
When you look at the number of young people who have either entered their reproductive age or about to, and of course the prevalent rate of teenage pregnancies, abortion, and what unsafe abortion, as the case may be. So we're developing a strategic document in order to be able to meet the needs of adolescents. But then, for Nuri, we don't believe in planning for young people. We believe in planning with young people. And that's why at this inquiry stage, which is more like a design stage, we want to involve as many stakeholders as possible so that we can get to understand the context of Lagos, for example, what actually influence and who influence young people's access to contraceptive, who determines what they get, the resources, the flow. What are those challenges that are limiting young people from having access to the tools, which is family planning, commodities, contraceptive, to be able to decide for themselves whether, when, and how many children they want to have.
Listing some of the dangers of unsafe sex to include sexually transmitted infections, abortions, and interference with education, the experts say this poses danger to life. To them, when these sexually active teenagers cannot be convinced to abstain from sex, they should be armed with information on the implications of sexual intercourse, while family planning should also be recommended to them.
Young people have the right to have all the information they demand, the accurate information, in order to make informed choices. So what we try to ensure that they have, if young people are informed about the contraceptive methods, then they can decide for themselves. And we just have to be real and not imagine that all young people are not sexually active. We have a good number of young people who are sexually active and are not married. So the ball is in their court. When we talk about family planning, abstinence is part of a method. It gives you 100% from STIs and HIV and what have you. But then that's not all that you have. You can use condom if you cannot abstain.
First of all, I have to give them that vital information, what sexual education is all about. Educate them to the point where they're able to take decisions when I'm not there. I will obviously, first of all, preach morality, which is abstinence. But we all know that most of these acts happen in the absence of guardians or parents. But I want my child, or I want my children, to be able to be safe in whatever position and whatever situation they find themselves. And I do not want to be ignorant to the fact that my children are exposed to these things. You have the internet, you have schools, you have peer pressure. While I want my children to have the best as well, I also want them to be educated enough to protect themselves from unintended pregnancies and unsafe sexual practices that will eventually, if not terminate their educational future, but also terminate their lives as well, because we know that a lot of these unintended pregnancies eventually end up in unsafe abortion, and a large portion of that end up in fatality.
Unsafe sex and teenage pregnancy have been identified as major maternal and public health challenges that have contributed to overall high maternal mortality rate in Nigeria.
Every day, our environment is undergoing changes that impact and affect our world. Global warming, climate change, environmental pollution and degradation, desert encroachment and flooding are daily destroying our world and making it unsafe for habitation. How do we cope with these changes? How do we improve the quality of life through our environment? These and many more environment issues will occupy us weekly on Environment Today.
It's imperative that people comply with laid down environmental laws if we must enjoy the benefits of a clean and healthy environment. But there are certain habits which are outrightly unfriendly to the environment.
Join Nkoli Omodu on Africa Independent Television AIT as we take an incisive and in-depth look at our environment. Environment Today, creating a better and safe environment for the world.